Dornbusch download 121, filming a little bit earlier because there's lots of people out and about this week. How are you going, Dan?
Very good, Andrew. Yourself?
Mate, just back from 4 days in Melbourne, and nice time in Melbourne. Obviously, we're very mindful of those events of Friday afternoon, and just reading before, still 4 people critical, dreadful stuff. But
it is dreadful.
Nice time at the tennis and all that type of stuff. But anyway, we're not here to talk about my travel plans.
Who's your tip for the tennis?
Wawrinka was playing really well. I know that's a bit of a dark horse. I mean, we lost Murray yesterday.
Yes.
We've lost Djokovic.
Djokovic, yeah.
Sorry, shows how much I follow the tennis. Nadal's still there though. Nadal, I reckon, sort of half it. But Wawrinka played really well.
One of my clients that's down there has got Nadal as the roughie.
As the roughie?
Yep, thinks he's playing really well. So.
It was hot though. It was very hot. Like, I mean, it's a hard court, I get that. But if you get a chance, go down, because there's plenty to do for the kids, even for the non-tennis fans, plenty to see. So. Anyway, so today we promised last week we'd talk a little bit about exchange-traded funds versus listed investment companies. So we're framing this as an LIC versus ETF Smackdown. So in the LIC corner, Andrew, and in the ETF corner, Dan. I might add though that we both use both products, don't we? But we're probably a little bit more passionate about one versus the other. So we've been talking a bit about them, so we thought we might just spend a couple of minutes just talking about each of them. And if you've got any questions, just leave them in the Facebook comments below, and we can help answer those questions for next week. So we'll sort of paper, rock, scissors as to who goes first.
Fees, Andrew.
Paper, rock, scissors.
Paper, rock, scissors.
Okay, so I get to go first. No, actually, I get to call it. You go first. So, tell us about ETFs.
Where do you start, Andrew? Comparing them to LICs.
Like, what are some of the benefits? Why would someone use an exchange-traded fund? What is an exchange-traded fund? Why would someone use one?
Very similar to a LIC, isn't it? An exchange-traded fund. Really a different name, a lower fee structure, I think, than an exchange-traded fund. I think exchange-traded funds can do a few, for want of a better word, sexier things, as in betting on indexes rather than holding the physical shares. Where
it gives you diversification, doesn't it? So you can get like a banking sector ETF. So if you say, I like the banks, instead of having to go buy all the banks,
you can just buy the ETF.
Buy the ETF and sort of get that synthetic exposure. But
you can also bet on, or not so much bet, but if you think the market's going down, invest in bear and make some money that way.
So if the market's falling, you buy, we buy BBOZ as an example, and that
BEAR,
and that sort of moves counter to where the market's going. So if the market's falling, they go up, or vice versa. So you've got to make sure you have the right view.
Yeah. So I suppose by highlighting those, it's really saying they're not so much as tied like a LIC is. A LIC's got to hold those companies that are listed on the market, doesn't it? Where exchange-traded funds have a bit more flexibility in that regard. But in saying that, Andrew, you've really got to hold the ones with the physical assets, don't you?
Because, and Dan's right, there's sort of 2 different types of ETFs. There's ones where they call synthetics, and there's the physicals. We're interested in the physicals, so that if we have a Lehman moment, and it all goes to custard, you just say to the ETF provider, I want the basket of shares. Where if it's synthetics, it's options and it's futures and all sorts of derivatives.
And a whole lot of things we don't know about.
And, again, Merrill Lynch, we had some exposure with clients who had Merrill Lynch managed funds, and over that weekend of 2007, everyone was saying, so how's Merrill Lynch going? I mean, these are conversations you never would have imagined that you would have been having. So, but one of the learnings from the GFC is you want the physical backing behind it. LICs, so from an LIC point of view, they're probably more, dare I say it at the moment, mainstream, but I might add that ETFs are growing by about 20% per year. And I've mentioned this statistic before. In the US, about half the trades in the US on their stock exchange are ETFs.
Yes.
So LICs, even though they're sort of the bee's knees at the moment, or historically the bee's knees, ETFs are really starting to get some traction, and I would be surprised if ETFs don't overtake LICs over the next 3 to 5 years. Having said that, though, LICs or listed investment companies really do suit some clients. They do have a slightly higher fee structure, But again, relative to an ETF, they're higher than ETFs. But, probably the nearest comparison is a managed fund. So some of you out there might have, BT or AMP or Colonial, all that type of stuff, and they're charging you 1.5–2% per annum. Bit of a black box. You don't quite know what you've got. You get this statement every 6 months and you're like, that's great. Whereas an LIC, it's actually listed on the stock exchange, and they put out their top 10 holdings every month. This is what we're holding, all that type of stuff. So it's a much more transparent type of thing. You can also see what the valuation of it is all the time as well. They only hold physicals though. So again, relative to the ETFs, and there's no banking LIC, so again,
no specific.
So if you're trying to choose a particular trend, you like technology shares, you like pharmaceuticals, LICs are not for you. We use LICs a lot for parents or grandparents who are saving for their kids and sort of developing a little share portfolio. So instead of going out and buying $1,000 holdings, keeps Mrs. Marks and Mrs. Wielandt in lifestyles to which they've become accustomed, but it's not really good from your cost point of view. No. An Argo or an Australian Foundation Investment Company or a Degera or any one of those pay very good dividends, have dividend reinvestment plans, and they're just solid. Now, I'm not saying an ETF isn't solid. This is the Smackdown bit. I'm not saying that ETFs aren't solid, but they're just, nearly call them widow and orphans funds. Like, they just do the business. You don't have to worry about credit quality of the provider. Do they have synthetics? They're just set and forget type of stuff. I think ETFs are a bit more edgy, was the word that immediately came to mind. That's the wrong word, but they're more proactive.
They are more proactive, and you're right, Andrew. Like Better Shares just put out that ethical fund or exchange traded fund the other day. So and what the company on the share market, Australian Ethical Fund, AEF, I think the code is. They've been trading very, very solidly and on a low margin, low yield of about 3.7%. So there is a lot of people that like that part of the market where you're not investing in tobacco, etc.,
gaming, all that sort of stuff. So I think that part of it, like LICs do play a part, is more of a, I was going to say set and forget type portfolio, but it's more just a sort of a component. Whereas I think ETFs can be more actively managed, and you want to go overweight banks or you want to go underweight banks and all that type of stuff. You can use an ETF style or the ethical. I mean, there's that drug product that
Hack's an interesting one.
Cyber security one. Like, if you're sort of really interested in sort of more topical mainstream and exposure, probably one thing we haven't really spoken about is the international stuff. There are a couple of LICs that have international exposure, but certainly ETFs are the place to be from an international exposure. So again, if you think Australia's not the place to be and you want more offshore exposure, again, an ETF. So I guess hopefully from today you've sort of gleaned the fact that LICs suit some client for particular purposes, ETFs or others. Want to work out which one is which, give Dan or I, Michael, Cyclone Goulson a call, and we'll point you in the right direction. Make sure you like us on Facebook. Tell all your friends. Dan?
Very good.
Till next week.